Hello and welcome to Matchday Live. Welcome to St James's Park. It's Manchester City's first game of 2024. My name's FG and I have the absolute pleasure of being with the man, Steve Howe. Now, last time out at St James's Park was the Carabao Cup. A tough evening in the end, but do you think this game will be a bit different?
I do. I think if we look at Newcastle at that particular time as well, they won a bit of a high, like Champions League and all that kind of thing. The fans were absolutely buzzing, but they've gone through a bit of a sticky spell. Man City now are starting to just get over that little, I wouldn't say a bump, but you know, that little blip, I suppose. But I do actually fancy Man City today very strongly.
Now, it's very much the calm before the storm here at St James's Park. There's actually nobody in the stadium as of yet, but it is a night under the lights here. As a player, when you're playing under the lights, how much different is the atmosphere, and do you prepare in any different ways for the game?
I don't think you prepare any differently. I think the days are a little bit longer because, you know, as a player, and the boys will agree, that you kind of feel as though you're hanging around. You just want to get on the pitch and get the game going. But the atmosphere is definitely different. You know, whether it was when at Main Road or here or any away game, the atmosphere just feels that little bit more spiky, sparkly, you know, a little bit more intense, and I'm looking forward to it tonight.
Well, it's going to be a great night indeed. We'll have all the team news to come. Quick one, Phil Foden, the man to watch out for like it's been all season for you?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the manager came out and sort of said he's playing the form of his life, and I don't think you can disagree. He's been absolutely sensational. Any player doesn't want to play against him, and I think even the players, the Newcastle players, they'll be thinking we've got a tough task because he's in scintillating form.
He is indeed. We will have the team news, as I just said. But now, before we head back to the studio, which we're going to do, where Natalie is with Richard Dunne, what a legend. Hello again, Richard. And Paul Dickov, another legend in his own right. Last time I saw you, you were wearing something electric. And I mean genuinely electric. A heated jacket, was it? I can see that you've got an on switch there, Steve.
Well, that's my scarf, which is a heated scarf. But we talked about it last time. Underneath this, I've got what's called a gilet, and that's heated as well, so I'm going to be nice and toasty warm. But having said that, I've got that on. You've smartened up a little bit, haven't you?
Right, off camera, I don't know if you can see my shoes, because Natalie in the studio says I need to dress smarter, so I'm trying, especially when I'm next to you and you've got heated items. I'm not quite there. Let's head to the studio. Natalie, I think it's time for a studio drip check, so let's go there.
Thank you so much to FG and to Steve Howe. A big welcome to Match Day Live. I was loving how Steve Howe said gilet there. It was wonderful. And yes, FG for once has smartened up a bit. I am joined in the studio by Paul Dickov, and a very warm welcome to the studio to Richard Dunne. So, drip check in the studio. Black jeans was on the stylist's notes today, and they're both wearing autumnal jumpers, I would describe it as. Yes, black jeans and autumnal jumpers.
Yes, you're rocking a little bit of your Freddie Mercury there. I like that, Natalie.
Freddie Mercury?
You haven't got to get the old... Come on.
I love my... Freddie... OK, hold on. Freddie Mercury.
That's the
Wembley.
One.
OK, I'm not going to sing. I'm not going to sing for you all, because that'll...
Yeah, just a couple of things on then as well. Steve always went soft, didn't he?
Oh,
Do you know what I mean? So soft, and FG's got his heels on there, isn't he, to make himself look a little bit bigger, I think.
FG's definitely got some sort of platform on there. I do love a heated gilet, by the way. We are big fans of it. So, City's first Premier League game of 2024 as we look to start the year going for our fourth never-been-done Premier League title in a row. It is St James's Park. It is Newcastle, a 5:30pm kickoff in the UK. Very, very much looking forward to the game today. Very much looking forward to speaking to you both. We're going to go back to St James's Park now, though. We're going to get the all-important team news. But FG, after you've given us the team news, I've got a challenge back for you today. Steve Howe, obviously there. Geordie played for Newcastle. Or, no, you won't want me calling him a Geordie, will he?
I do.
Is that OK? Mackham,
yeah.
Geordie. He's from the northeast. FG, I want Steve Howe to teach you some Geordie words today. But give us the team news first.
Yes, thank you very much, Natalie. We will come to that. But first, let's deal with the Manchester City team news to face Newcastle United here at St James's Park. In goal is Ederson, and our captain today is Kyle Walker. And then it's Ruben Diaz and Nathan Ake with Josko Vardiol. Rodri, Kovacic and Bernardo play, as does Phil Foden, Jeremy Doku and Julian Alvarez. The substitutes for Manchester City, Stefan Ortega, Calvin Phillips, Jack Grealish, our 17 Kevin De Bruyne, Sergio Gomez, Mateus Nunes, Oscar Bob, Mamadou Sissoko and our very own Rico Lewis joining me again is none other than the legend Steve Howe. Now, Natalie set us a challenge. We'll come to that a little bit later, but let's deal with the team news. I think the thing that we have to start with is Jeremy Doku starting again, back in the starting lineup. He's so electric, isn't he?
He is. He's like I said, he's a defensive nightmare, because what he does, and I think Dunne will tell you as well, for a defender, we hate this. He comes at you, he stops, and then he goes. And regardless, even if you're the top defender, just stopping and going again is very difficult. By that time, he's already gone. And, you know, whatever side he plays on, predominantly he's normally left, but he can switch. That is not going to be good for the defender.
Now, we saw him doing the griddy at home at the Etihad last time out. How do you stop him? I know it's a really difficult question, but is it a case of just getting maybe a couple of players on him? Because if you do, then you leave the likes of Phil Foden, Julian Alvarez, Bernardo Silva and players like that all alone. It's
very difficult because, as you said, if you kind of sort of saying get two men across, that leaves space for other players and little pockets and stuff like that. I think for a defender, just say if it's Trippier, for instance, he's going to be the one. Listen, he's very experienced. He knows exactly what he's doing. I think he'll try and go as tight and as quick as he can. If he drops off, well, then sometimes that can cause you problems. Sometimes as a defender, you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't, really.
No Erling Haaland in the squad today, of course. Pep said that he's still injured, still got a little bit of time to recover. But Julian Alvarez, sensational footballer, can do pretty much everything. He's a defender's nightmare as well, isn't he?
He is, because whilst he will threaten behind, he's one of these where he just goes in like little pockets. What I mean by pocket is where the back four is and their midfield four is in between that. And as a defender, do you go in there? And if you do go in there, there's a gap. If you don't and he gets it, he turns, he's running at you. Do you get one of the midfield players to drop? If he does, there's a gap for the other midfield, the Man City midfield players to get in there. So it's all about communication from Newcastle, but that for 90 plus minutes is very, very difficult. It only takes that split second, and once the split second, bang, could be a goal.
Now, Nathan Ake and Josko Vardy are in the back four together. We presume it'll be Josko at left back, as it always has been. Are you surprised with that, based on how good Ake was last year at full back?
You're not really surprised at Pep, are you, really, for how he moves things around and stuff? Listen, these two for me have been brilliant. I thought Nathan Ake last season was pretty much City's best player, being honest, even though there's some unbelievable performances, and look what they did last year. And as I said, he thrived in that position. I like Guardiola in that position. He looks big, he looks strong. He likes to get down there. He's quite comfortable on the ball. Of course, he can play that centre-half, but how good is it when you can have two unbelievably quality players that can play in those two positions, but not only play in them positions, basically master them positions?
Well, it is absolutely. And Neil Warnock, actually, on Matchday Live, was actually full of praise for Nathan Ake. He said he was a Rolls-Royce defender and lovely to watch. Hopefully he will continue. Now, Natalie has just set us a little bit of a challenge in the Matchday Live studio. I don't know where this has come from, but she wants me to learn some Geordie phrases from you. What have you got for me, Mr. Steve Howe?
Oh, right. I'm Ganyam.
I'm sorry, you what, mate?
I'm Ganyam.
I'm Ganyam.
Ganyam.
And what does that mean?
I'm going home.
Oh, right, okay. I'm Ganyam.
Ganyam. Yam means home, unbelievably enough.
Well, listen. The accent in Newcastle is sensational, but I'm Ganyam might be a phrase I might start using. What else have you got for me? Anything else? I was thinking like, why I, man?
No.
Or something like that. Like,
Ganut.
I'm going out.
There you go.
Hey, and I'll tell you what we're doing. We're going back to the studio. And Natalie, it's time for you to...
Crack on.
Crack on. Okay.
I don't even know what that first one was, but Garnoot. I get that.
I'm doing that.
easier.
I'm doing that later.
You Garnoot?
Yeah, I am.
Of course you are, pulling off. Love that. Thank you so much to FG and to Steve Howe. I'm really hoping we get some more Geordie phrases a little bit later in the show. So the team news is in there. I want to hone straight in, though, on Phil Foden. What a season. What a few games he has been having. He's had a hand in 7 goals in his last 10 Premier League appearances, 4 goals, 3 assists. Since Christmas, he's created the most chances in open play in the Premier League by any player. He's having a phenomenal season, Paul. How much of that are you putting down to the position, the tactical position he's been taking up while Kev has been out?
Yeah, I think, look, when City over the years, when I remember a couple of seasons ago when Kevin was injured or Sergio was injured before, they always got to have somebody that really steps up to the plate. And with Erling being out and Kevin being out most of the season, I think Phil Foden's looked at it and thought, right, this is my time. But, you know, I've done some radio during the week and I was having an argument with the presenter because they were saying it's only now that we're seeing Phil Foden coming to the fore. And I went, no, it's not. I was like, he's been doing it for season after season, and he's been fantastic all season. I think when Erling plays and Kevin plays, the spotlight's always on them. All the media attention's always on them. And I think that's Phil sort of went under the radar. But his ability, I've never seen him do better taking the ball in the back foot in tight places, and the natural ability he's got. He's always had goals and he's always has assists, but I think, as I say, because Kevin's not been in the team and Erling's not been in the team, I think people are looking at Phil now and saying that this is his time, but it's been his time for the last couple of seasons. And I've seen a ridiculous start the other day there, and I think I mentioned it last week. I think he's got a trophy every 16 or 17 appearances that he's played, which is just ridiculous, isn't it, when you think about it? And he's only just 23 years old.
He's amazing. I love watching him. I just think, as a footballer, there's nothing better than watching someone who can just flow through a game, and he does it so perfectly. I think when people talk about, oh, he's not really come to the fore before, you start to look at his goals and assists now, and everyone out from the outside is going, oh, well, he's scoring goals, so he must be playing well. He's been playing well since he's got into the team. He's just getting that little bit more freedom now, and like Paul says, he's the focal point, like the main point of the team at the moment, and I think everyone comes to games now. Last week, even against Huddersfield, it was a bit of a tight block by Huddersfield, and it was difficult, and you were just waiting for Foden to work it out and find where the spaces were, and it took him 20 minutes, and he started to find them, he started to create chances, and then he just ran the show from there. And he's been doing it in the Premier League, he's been doing it in the Champions League, and he's just a fantastic footballer.
Such an intelligent footballer with it as well. You know, he's always looking to find the space, as Dunne said there, you know, and when teams are defending deep and they're defending narrow and everything else, he's always looking to find that little pocket that he can go and cause problems in. And I'd go back to your point at the start, I think he's thriving playing that central role. You know, he played in that role as a kid. He's made no secret that that's where he wants to play eventually, and he's had the opportunity to do it. But there's one thing getting the opportunity to do it, but then you've got to produce, and that's what he's doing at the minute. And you know, I just can't wait to see Kev back in the starting lineup and seeing if they two can both fit in that midfield together. It'll be sensational.
Get the opportunity and take the opportunity, absolutely. Don't want to jump forward, but of course Kevin is on the bench today. What do you think will happen when Kev comes in? Because obviously we're saying how great Phil's been doing in this role.
I don't know. I mean, never mind when Kevin comes in, I don't know what's going to happen today with him, the starting lineup. You know, is Phil going to play centrally today? And is Bernardo going to play wide? Or is Phil going to go back wide again and put Bernardo in the middle? We don't know, but I just think it's the competition for places now and there is what we've always wanted, which Pep's always wanted as well. Rodri's going to be the one in that three that's going to start. You'd imagine Kevin in a few weeks' time when he gets back there. And if it's Bernardo Silva, if it's Phil in there, or Julian Alvarez and Erling comes back, can he drop in that 10? No, but the options and the quality that they've got is just ridiculous and scary for everybody else, I think.
Wonderful for City fans, wonderful for City fans. Phil Foden was actually speaking this week. We caught up with him about Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, I'm loving my football. I think playing centrally now, I'm enjoying it even more. I always want to help the team with goals and assists as well, so hopefully that continues and I keep performing. But you're only as good as your last game, so yeah, there's so many things that I can still improve and can get better at. I think when you play with Kev, you know, he's always going to find you in the good areas because he's one of the best passers in the world. So yeah, hopefully I can play with him, whether it's in midfield or off the wing. So I'm just looking forward to him getting back to his best because it's what the team needs. But yeah, he's still got some time. He still needs to get his fitness up and play more minutes.
Yeah, I love the fan in Phil Foden coming out there as well. You can see, I can't wait till Kev gets back on the pitch. It's exactly how, indeed, we are all feeling. A man that is getting himself back on the pitch today, of course, is Jeremy Doku. 8 games without him, Richard, and even though obviously this is his first season, I've really missed him.
He's brilliant. He's so exciting to watch. There's loads of players that have come into the Premier League and you watch clips of them on YouTube and you think, oh, he's just a YouTube player, there's not going to be much in it. But he's involved all the way through the game. He takes players on. He's not afraid of players with big reputations. He just goes at them, he runs past them. And there's always an end product with him, which I think is being brilliant. And to be out for 8 weeks, and I mean, it looks a simple half volley, but it's the timing of it, it's the composure to do it. And then obviously he's still got his dancing in there as well. So, but I think he's been a brilliant signing. He's been he's something that City haven't had. They've always got wingers who can get you down the line, cut back, keep the ball, keep possession. He doesn't want to do that. He just wants to take people on and score goals and create opportunities. And so far his City career has been fantastic.
The dancing, by the way. My 6-year-old is firmly getting into football now, and what he's most obsessed with is the celebrations that all the players do. So he knows Mbappe's celebration, he knows what Messi would do, he knows, and he says Jeremy Doku, and he does the celebration.
It's nothing new that. I used to see Dunne do that in the dance floor quite a few years ago, actually.
Not on purpose, though.
Dunne pioneered the Jeremy Doku. I love that. How exciting was it as well to see him and Kev linking up? Because obviously we haven't seen them play together for City, but they know each other really well from Belgium.
They do, and Jeremy said when he'd seen the interest from Man City that one of the first person he spoke to was Kevin De Bruyne. You know, he actually said he's a player that he looks up to in the national team as well, a player that's really helped him in the national team. So to see them both in the pitch is fantastic. But as Dunne said, I think the most impressive thing for me is how quickly he settled in. You know, as a young boy coming from a different country, and historically it can be quite difficult for players coming into Man City to get used to how Pep plays. It takes them sometimes a season, 6 months, but the fact that he's hit the ground running already. And I've seen slight changes in his game as well from when he first came. You know, he wanted to drive at the fullback every single time. He wanted to take him on, he wanted to make things happen. But now under the guidance of Pep and the coaching and everything else, he's doing it at the right times now. You know, he knows when to stop the defender and pass it and move and everything else. But one-on-one, I mean, Kieran Trippier, he's going to have to get Almer on, doubling up and helping him out massively today, because, you know, I love Kieran to bits, but he's been struggling recently with his form, and the last thing you want is Jeremy Doku running at you.
Yeah, that's a battle I'm very much looking forward to. We'll bring you the Newcastle team news very shortly as well. Of course, we played Newcastle already this season at St James's Park in the Carabao Cup. It was a 1-0 defeat for City, but that day, Rodri was not playing. He is back today, Richard, and he still remains, for me, the centre of this team.
Yeah, he's probably the one player that within the squad we don't have a like-for-like player who can play that position as well as he can do it. There's not many in world football who can do what he's done, and the composure that he shows in and out of possession, the leadership, the organisation that he creates is just. I think the players enjoy having him in the pitch. They know it's like, oh, everything's fine because Rodri's behind me, or he can take certain risks, knowing quite well he's always in the right position, is covering his spot on, he keeps the ball, he wins tackles. There's very few things that he can't do, and when you're talking about players with the potential to win Ballon d'Ors and stuff like that, sometimes he can get overlooked because he's not got the goals and the assists, but he's one of the main parts of a giant of a team. He's the one player that just keeps it ticking over and over.
I think everybody was worried when Fernandinho left and how we're going to replace him and who was going to come in and could Rodri do it. And I love Fernandinho, we all did, but I think Rodri's took that position to a completely different level now. You know, and I think it's shown the games that nowhere are we a one-man team, but the games that Rodri's not played in, we've struggled in, and I think that says a lot.
Very much, very much. Oh, there is Ali McCoy.
Super Ali.
And Eddie Howe there. I'd like to hear that conversation. FG's going to try and speak to Ali McCoist, which I'm very excited about because I absolutely love Ali McCoist. I love Ali McCoist and I love Rodri. And we caught up with Rodri earlier this week.
I have to see the teams we're facing, top teams level. I mean, Chelsea, Tottenham, Liverpool, Aston Villa now. I mean, top sides that they're going to be there for sure, fighting. And as you said, most of them we deserve to win, others not. So yeah, 50-50. I think we have to look to ourselves, see what we can improve, and don't think much in the others. I think that's the most important. And since the first year I came here, I have the feeling that every year is not enough. You have to, if you show the same level of champions, because you were champions in the past, you're not going to achieve it again. So you have to increase and overgrade, and the players coming in has to be even better and give that plus to the team. And of course, we have to be all fit if we want to achieve. So I think that we're in this moment that we are kind of coming back, all the players, and understanding each other and having the results and having like 2-3 months playing together. So yeah, important.
Rodri to the edge of the area. Rodri hits the shot in the corner. That is a sensational goal.
It's something you have, no one teach you. By the years, you have to, say, okay, I accept this. It's not easy sometimes because it's not just your business. It's about the business of all of your teammates and the role in the difficult moments, most of them, and to choose the best words in the best in the in the exact moment, and to touch this kind of signal. So yeah, I think not easy, but it's something I'm trying to improve. I'm getting on about 27. You see other players, but now you see the other team the last day with 17, 18-year-old players. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I think it gives you everything in terms of, you have the experience of knowing what happened. As you said, we've been on front, we've been behind, we know both situations. So yeah, I think the most important thing is to keep going ourselves. Don't think much on who are the contenders or who are with us fighting. I think, as I told before, this league is not going to be one or two contenders. I think every game is going to be a final and a battle, and everyone can be there because the level is so high in every game. If you ask me, our real contenders is Liverpool because they have the experience of winning the last years. But Arsenal, they showed the level last year. They can do it, and for sure this year they have the experience they didn't have last. So every team is growing. Villa, you can see how big they are coming now, and the personality with their play and the ambition. Let's see, it's not easy if you're there for the first time to sustain this, but you never know. Tottenham is playing very, very good level. I mean, I can tell you good things about many teams, but I would choose to be Man City team. Yeah.
That was, of course, Rodri speaking to us earlier this week. Now, we are delighted to announce a few weeks ago, of course, that Kellogg's have become one of our new partners here at City. And you can see that we have swiftly brought in some of our favourite Kellogg cereals into the studio. Now, this new agreement brings together two iconic brands deep-rooted in the historic and cultural makeup of the city of Manchester. And it will see the organisations work together to encourage positive change within communities in the local area and beyond. So, welcome to the family, Kellogg's. And I love cereal. And by the way, gents, cereal's not just for breakfast. Like, cereal is a cracking lunch and a cracking thing to eat in the evening as well. And I think I'm going to be having a bowl of this cereal myself when we are watching the game later on. I'm also going to be pinching one of these bowls, by the way.
Yep.
They're very
quite like them, actually, yeah.
Yes. What's your favourite? This is a question I bet you never thought you'd be asked on Matchday Live. What's your favourite cereal, Paul?
We've been asked a few questions on Matchday Live, but I didn't think I'd get asked this one. I'm a bit old school. I like cornflakes. I actually used to have cornflakes in my pre-match.
Really?
Yeah, I never liked eating before a game, so I'd get up early and have a big breakfast, and then for my pre-match I would have a slice of toast and a bowl of cornflakes. Something
what if it
light.
was a 5:30 p.m. kickoff?
I would do the same. I would have a big lunch, and then for my pre-match I would always have a bowl of cereal and some toast.
My goodness, it's like you were told to say that, but you weren't, because I've just sprung
yeah,
this on you. Well done. Dunne?
50-50 between cornflakes and Rice Krispies.
In the same bowl?
No. Either or.
Yeah.
One day one, one day the next.
Very nice. I do like a bit of crunchy nut, I'll have to say. Crunchy nut, although, yeah, some people will be nodding along, saying that I'm definitely crunchy nut there. And again, no one said anything about me jacket matching the crunchy nut box as well. So a big welcome to the family, to Kellogg's. And yes, I'm definitely going to be stealing these bowls when nobody is looking. And in fact, I might put one away now because we're going to hear from Pep. He's been talking about Newcastle's Isak.
The impact has been since arrived really good. Had the conditions to be an incredible striker with his speed, his finishing. In Real Sociedad, we started to follow him. We were impressed. I was a target and a player. Well, wow, have a young player, but these skills always all the clubs around the world take a look. So it's not a surprise. And I think he adapted really well here in Premier League. So I don't know him personally, but I admire him a lot.
So Pep there speaking very, very highly of Alexander Isak, of course. You might have him in your fantasy football team as well, by the way. I'm keeping my eye on him very, very much there. Right, so is Isak in the Newcastle team for today? Let's find out. Here's the Newcastle starting 11. Dubravka, Trippier, who of course is captain. Then it is Shah, Botman, Byrne, Guimarães, Longstaff, Miley, Almiron, Gordon and Isak is there in the starting 11. The subs there are on the screen as well. Miley jumps out at me there as well because, of course, he made his debut, 17-year-old, in that Carabao Cup game that we played against them. I read a stat this week and now I've suddenly forgotten it. I think he's the youngest player to reach 10 Premier League games or something like that. 17 years old. What a game to be starting in today for him.
It is, and Eddie Howe obviously trusts him. He's played in a few Champions League games as well this year, and you know, for somebody who's 17, it shows a lot of trust in there from his manager, but from his players as well. And every time I've seen him, he's really impressed me. You know, a big job for him today, you know, because obviously Joe Linton's out for 6 weeks, who's a big influence in how they play. So it puts a little bit more pressure on him. But what I like about him is he plays with a youthful freedom about him. You know, it doesn't look as if the pressure in playing in big games gets to him. It looks as if he loves playing football, and obviously with his boyhood club at St James's Park as well. It's a fantastic occasion for him.
Yeah, you mentioned injuries there. Joe Linton out for 6 weeks with a thigh injury. He joins a pretty long list of injuries that Newcastle have currently got. Nick Pope, of course Nick Pope, who would be the starting goalkeeper, Callum Wilson, who would be starting or in rotation with Isak and probably fighting for an England place, Harvey Barnes, Joe Willock. So they do have quite a few injuries there, which of course would be why Miley gets in. I do want to focus though on a player that I love, Bruno Guimarães.
Well said.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I
have practiced that. Yes, Guimarães. I love him. I love him as a player. I love his aggression, the way he passes the ball. I'm just a real big fan of him. He's been linked, I mean often, but particularly now in this transfer window or in the summer, to Barcelona and to Real Madrid. I wish he was being linked to us, if I'm being honest. I think he'd fit in our team. Lovely. What do you make of him?
Yeah, he's been brilliant since he's come in. He's probably the first real big signing that they made, and he's worked for them. It's been perfect for him. He scored a lot of goals in his first half season when he was there last year. Again, he was outstanding, and he's been almost the starting point for them in terms of going to the press and trying to high press on teams and high intensity play. He's been the one that's really pushed it, and seemingly the fans have really taken to him. He's really taken to the city, and he looks at home in Newcastle. He's done fantastically well, and they do have to move him on. I think there was something about the FFP. Maybe they have to possibly move him on over the next year or so, but he's been brilliant, and it'd be a big loss to Newcastle to lose a player of his quality.
Yeah.
He's the heartbeat of their team, isn't he? He's the one that sets them off, and he does a bit of everything in there, doesn't he? You know, he creates, he scores goals, as Dunne said, but he doesn't mind sticking his foot in there and getting a tackle in and getting the crowd going. You can tell that he's one of the players. I know we were speaking about Kevin before, about how people lift their game when he's on the pitch, and I think he does that for Newcastle. You know, his teammates around him, when he's on the ball, when he's in the team and everything else, everybody else starts to lift their game a little bit because they know how good he is. And big kudos to Newcastle, you know, because there are a lot of people talking about signing him, a lot of big clubs who sort of waited, but Newcastle went in there and done it, and he's been a huge success. And it's no surprise there's a lot of big clubs looking at him, because he's a fantastic footballer.
Yeah, when they got him, it was a big statement from them to be able to have got a player of that sort of calibre, Eddie Howe's big first signing. Pep was talking about Alexander Isak there, saying that we were looking at him, Dunne. Pep said we were really interested in him. I mean, to get that from Pep, that's huge praise for him.
Yeah, and you can see why. You can see what he brings to Newcastle and what he would have brought to the Man City team. He's really tall but quick and mobile. He can shift, he can dribble with the ball, and he's got an instinct to know where to be, where the ball is going to drop. I think Newcastle have, I suppose, the duo with Wilson sometimes and Isak the other times, and I think with him they're more threatening him behind. He's got the capabilities to do things probably individually a little bit more than what Wilson can, but he's again, even when he's not in form, he's still a threat because he just wants to score goals. He wants to run in behind, and having a striker like Dicky was, someone who's willing to sacrifice themselves for the team, it just means so much to the rest of the players, and he's getting the benefit of playing in such a really good team where he's getting goals as well as the work rate, and yeah, he's been another huge success for Newcastle. Their recruitment has been spot on so far.
What I like about him, he never panics in front of goal. As Dunne said, even if he's not playing well or he doesn't let it get to him, he's ice cool. And we know Newcastle, Eddie's teams, they like to press in front, and he doesn't mind doing that. He puts in a proper shift for the team, and he scores all sorts of goals. We've seen him running for the halfway line and dribbling past people. Dunne says we've seen him making the run in behind, going one-on-ones inside out and outside the box, and Newcastle's recruitment again, because Pep said he was looking at him, but there was a lot of clubs that weren't quite sure should we go for him or not, and Newcastle have done that, and he's a fantastic player.
Mentioned Eddie Howe there. Of course, last season he had an incredible time. In fact, when he joined Newcastle, from where they were to take them to where they got to, and then to where they finished last season. This season it's going a bit more difficult for them. So Newcastle have lost 5 of their past 6 Premier League matches. They've lost the last 3 Premier League matches. They did have that big win against Sunderland last week, though, in the FA Cup. There seems to be, Dunne, a constant talk about Eddie Howe and his job. He seems to be under an immense amount of pressure for somebody that achieved so much last season.
Yeah, he's, I suppose, victim of his own success and what he's done. He's changed the whole outlook and the belief of Newcastle, the squad and the fans, and they've put themselves in a place where people want to shoot them down now. They want to see people lose jobs and bring the next guy in, and the whole process of Newcastle becoming a superpower in English football and European football dictates that they want to see bigger managers and bigger names, but he's been brilliant. I think the style of football that they play has been good, but our possession of the ball, the pressing that they do, the high intensity work, when you start getting injuries in your squad and you've not got the players to come in like you had for the last couple of seasons with the rotation, it starts to take its toll. You can't ask the same players to constantly just keep putting their bodies on the line. You need to rotate the squad, and he's just not had that available to him this season. I think when they played PSG in the Champions League area in the season, they ran 128 kilometres or something, which is a huge number. But to try and replicate that over and over is near on impossible with the same 11, 12, 13 players.
Yeah, and I think, as Dunne said, he's a victim of his own success. And I think the narrative of him being under pressure is coming outside the club. I think it's more of a story for people in the media to look at. Look, we've got new owners, we've got rich owners. They're not going to put up with if they don't qualify for the Champions League. But they swam the channel. They overachieved last season, getting into the top 4. I don't think anybody would have expected it. And I don't care what MD says, people were tipping them to finish in the top 4 again this season. It's so difficult to do that with the competition that's in and around them, because everybody else was going to get better. The injuries he's had, you speak to any Newcastle fans, even if they go and get beat today, which I fully expect they will, the Newcastle fans are fully behind them. So I think everything, the big noise about him being under pressure, it's more of a story for the press outside Newcastle than what it is in the people that are actually there.
I think even for the club, they're not ready for it, no. Because they're trying to balance the squad with money and all that stuff, because they're in a position that they weren't expected to be, so they have to buy better players than they were expecting to buy. So it takes a little bit of time, and I think Eddie Howe's the perfect calming sort of influence for that club, just to slowly progress, because you can't do it quick now. You need to take your time, and I think he's ideal for it.
Yeah, because when you do it quick like they did last season, then all the pressure's on you and the levels of expectation. I read a stat this week, by the way. This is just a stat. I'm just reading it. If something happens today, it's not my fault because I read this stat. I am not jinxing this, by the way. City have scored in 30 consecutive Premier League matches against Newcastle, which is the longest streak by any side against another in the Premier League's history. 30 consecutive games. If City don't score today, nobody look at me. It is just a stat, OK? OK? You all agreed? Right, we're going to go back over to St James's Park now. We're going to hear more from FG and from Steve Howe, and I'm hoping we get some more Geordie phrases.
Hello, welcome back to St James's Park. We've seen the Newcastle United team news. Now, this is a side that's struggling a little bit in the Premier League at the moment. A lot of games, injuries, a few factors.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the way in the Champions League as well, it's the travel and stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, yes, there is travel, but they're not travelling economy. It's quite nice for them to travel that way in that respect. But yes, I mean, the injuries, like every team, has been bad. But I think for Newcastle in particular, it's been horrendous. But listen, it's one of them things that you have to cope with. But yeah, the form hasn't been great. I think last time out here they got beat off Nottingham Forest when everybody expected them to win. So they'll be wanting to put on a good performance for the fans.
Now this crowd here, as you know, get behind the team so well. It's a night game. How important is it for them to start this game quickly? The last thing they want to do is concede an early goal, because then it's the backs against the wall against a side that's so difficult to beat when they're in front.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things, playing here, we always sort of said, we have to start nice and bright, positively, because that gets the crowd behind you. And I suppose that's the same for any ground, really, in any team. Because the fans will get behind you and they make it noisy. But of course, if City come out and they get an early goal, I think a lot of the fans will be like, oh, here we go again. We've just been beaten off Nottingham Forest, but this is not Nottingham Forest, this is Manchester City. So they will be then expecting quite a long night.
Now, it's not all been bad for Newcastle United. Anthony Gordon's been absolutely brilliant. He starts the game today. It's a massive game for him, and we saw him earlier on. He looked really, really relaxed. I think he was speaking to Jolien and Rio. He should relish nights like these, shouldn't he?
I think any player relishes nights like this. This is where you become a professional footballer, kicking the ball about. As a young kid, you want to go, I want to play nights like these. I want to be playing against players like these, atmospheres like these, grounds like these. So, I mean, yes, for me, when he first came, he kind of struggled a little bit in and out the team. Then he went away, obviously, in the summer, had a fantastic summer with England. They won the tournament. He was play the tournament, worked ever so hard. His pre-season was excellent. And I think he's been one of the shining lights, really, for Newcastle this season.
And a word on Eddie Howe very quickly. It seems like a really, really relaxed environment for these group of players. They obviously did so well last year. It's not quite going their way, but this is a club that'll surely turn it around, right?
You would have thought so. I think when they get players back, it'll massively help. I mean, this is probably the first, shall we say, a little blip that they've had under Eddie Howe. I mean, I think since he's come, what he's done with the team has been unbelievable. I think 2 years ago, where this club was, it's quite remarkable, really. So, listen, it's a big game for the Newcastle players. It's a big game for City as well. Last time, I think this fixture last year was 3-3, goals left, right, and centre. I'm hoping for as many goals.
But just in the blue side's favour from our side. You probably noticed we've changed position. We like to get all the angles here. And Mr. Steve Howe is actually stood on a platform, and as you can see, I am stood a little bit lower. But we're both in the 6 feet, aren't we? 6'2" and 6'4".
Well, when you've got the heels on like you, I think you're about 6'3".
Listen.
They're absolutely massive.
They're not at all. I only wore these because Natalie called out my dress sense. Let's head back to the studio with everyone. That was our reaction to the Newcastle team news.
Yeah, 6 foot FG. Yeah. 6 foot. Thank you, FG. Thank you, Steve Howie there at St James's Park. 5:30 p.m. kickoff today in UK time in the Premier League as we take on Newcastle. We, at the start of the show, gave you the first clue on today's Mystery Blue. If you missed it, I'll give you a recap now, and I'll give you the second clue. Who is today's Mystery Blue? So, your first clue was this player is a former teammate of both Richard Dunne and Steve Howie. Okay, there's probably quite a few of those, perhaps, Dunne. Clue 2.
Is it me?
It could be. Did you amass over 100 caps for your country throughout your career?
No, a tenth of that I had.
That is not you, then. It is not Paul Dickov, because our Mystery Blue today amassed over 100 caps for his country throughout his career. Now, that makes me think, getting 100 caps, that is a lot of caps. So I'm jumping to a goalkeeper or somebody that played for a country that maybe didn't have many good players. Politely. What do you think?
Take Scotland out the way, doesn't it?
Does. You're right. You're right.
I think he's my neighbour.
OK, don't say his name yet then. But you live in Alderley Edge. That's where all the footballers live, isn't it? So.
Well, just outside.
OK.
Yeah.
Do you think you know?
Yes, obviously the first one didn't give away anything. It could have been anyone. Like Dickie said, I thought it could have been him. But then, yeah, the second one, I know who it is.
OK, Richard Dunne knows who it is. Do you know who it is? You can get in touch with us on WhatsApp if you think that you do. Tell us who the Mystery Blue is, but then you can also ask a question for our guests. As always, we love getting your questions in. We've had a few already, so I'm going to quickly put this one to them from Carl Booth. Great question, Carl. Thank you so much. Can Dunne or Paul please tell us how influential it is playing in front of the Newcastle crowd? There is much made of them. Is it as difficult as the press tell us it is?
I mean, it is. It's loud. It's really good. It's a real sort of Saturday night atmosphere in the ground. I think even if it's a Saturday afternoon, it still feels like a Saturday night in there sometimes. But I think the biggest sort of difficulty that you face going to Newcastle is the slope on the pitch. Yeah. There's a slope of maybe
People don't realise it, do they?
It's massive. It must be nearly a metre, 2 metres maybe from
Whereabouts on the
from one
pitch?
goal to the
Going
next
down into
goal.
the Gallowgate end,
completely,
into the home fans. Isn't
yeah,
it?
slides all the way down. So in the second half, they always shoot down into the Gallowgate, and it feels like you're looking up. And every time you clear the ball, it's just rolling back down the hill, and it's just really difficult to. I think mentally it's difficult because you're just looking up a hill the whole time through the second half. But the atmosphere is brilliant, and that really they start roaring it in, and they're trying to get the ball into the Gallowgate end, and you can really feel yourself sliding back down the hill. It makes it a really difficult place to go.
Oh, we want to win the coin toss then, Paul, so we can shoot the other way.
That used to be a big thing, didn't it?
Yeah.
The coin toss. You know, the managers used to say to you, look, if you win it, shoot the opposite, make them shoot the opposite way in the first half. Because we knew that if it was Shearer or whoever was captain, they were going to shoot towards the Gallowgate end in the second half. But I used to love playing there. I mean, I think it's slightly different now. But you were always told, first 20 minutes at St James's Park, just keep the crowd quiet. Don't give them anything at all. And then after the first 20 minutes, if you did manage to keep a clean sheet or were on top, the fans would get quieter and start grumbling and everything else. So that was a big thing. But big tactic really was just keep it really tight for the first 20 minutes and quieten the crowd down, and then go and play your game from there. I've been at St James's Park as a fan and sat up in the 5th tier, sat up in the gods, and it is very, very high up. I was sat there though when Yaya Toure scored the goal in 2011-2012 season, and it was an incredible, incredible place to be then. What a wonderful question that was. Thank you so much, Carl. We learnt about the sloping pitch. The Gallowgate end, is that where like the hardcore sit?
Yeah, that's the home end, yeah.
The home,
yeah. The opposite to the big stand where all the City fans will be today is down the other end, and it gets noisy in there, and it's sort of an old school stadium, isn't it, in that sense, down that way. I mean, it's nice and posh and all, but it feels that old school, close to the ground or close to the pitch, and it's one of those places you like playing because it's real football. Oh, I love that. Well, we've sent FG. He's sitting in the stands right now. I don't know which stand he's in, but indeed he is there. And he has met up with fellow content creator and Newcastle fan Joe. And they're going to run us through the 11 men's and women's players from Manchester City that are nominated for this year's EAFC Team of the Year.
Yes, hello, welcome back to St James's Park. I've made it to the other side of St James's Park, and I have bumped into FC24 creator Joe, goes by the name of Clever Dicks online. Let's talk about Team of the Year then. Team of the Year is fast approaching. Manchester City, 8 nominees. How good does that sound? We've got Ederson, we've got Stones, we've got Diaz, we've got Jack Grealish, Bernardo, Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri and Erling Haaland. Which one of those make your team?
I'm going to have to go with Ederson. I need a goalkeeper. My goalkeepers this year just haven't done the job. So a Team of the Year keeper would be lovely. So Ederson gets my vote.
And imagine how good Ederson will be with his feet on that game like he is in real life. I mean, for those of you that don't know Joe, he's an FC24 creator from Newcastle, and he's pretty good at the game, aren't you? Fancy yourself on FC24?
I'm all right. I'm above average, I'd say.
And I'm actually better, so we'll get to that another time. 8 nominees. I know you would have put Bruno when you started 11, but Manchester City were sensational last year, weren't they?
They were.
How many of those realistically do you expect to be in Team of the Year?
Quite a few, yeah. Treble winning side, you'd expect quite a few of their players to get in, so, yeah.
Now, have you got any tips for anyone watching how to play FC24? Any various players that you think to use out of these Team of the Year nominees?
So, do you know what I've found this year? The less tactics you have, the better your team play.
So, no tactics, just vibes.
Just vibes, just pure vibes.
Speaking of vibes, the women's team are now involved in FC24. Finally, by the way, we've got 3 nominees. We've got Chloe Kelly, Lauren Hemp and Bunny Shaw. Now, I know you know about Lauren Hemp and Chloe Kelly because their FC24 items already are incredible, aren't they?
They are very good, yeah.
Imagine if they get in the Team of the Year. How are you going to defend against them?
You're not. You're simply not. It's literally, going forward, you're going to be tremendous. Going to be, you know what it is? Might get in my team. And I've got Cruyff up top at the minute, so...
Oh, well, one person who's better than Cruyff on FC24 will be when she gets in the Team of the Year is Bunny Shaw.
Oh, goal scorer.
Goal scorer galore. She absolutely loves it. Look, the people watching at home are probably wondering, before we head back to the studio, what score you'd beat everyone in the studio. So we've got Paul Dickov, we've got Richard Dunne, and we've got Natalie Pike in the studio. I'm pretty confident that you'd beat all of them. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm confident. I'm confident.
Was that a bit of hesitation?
I'm confident.
Well, one thing's for certain, I'm confident that Team of the Year will be dominated by Manchester City, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
We might even see a Newcastle Bruno in there as well, right?
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping so.
You know he's flying the flag. Look, quick prediction on the game before we head back.
Oh, I can't. I don't want to jinx it. I can't, because if I say a score, it'll end up being the complete opposite. So I've got to. I'm not going to jinx it. I can't.
He just told me Newcastle are going to win. Let's head back to the studio. Thank you so much for joining us, mate.
Thanks so much there to FG and to Joe. Joe looked very nervous there when the thought of taking on any of us in that game. I don't actually play EAFC, but my 6-year-old Reggie does. So, Joe, I will put my 6-year-old forward to represent me to take you on because you were looking nervous, Joe. But congratulations to all the City players that are nominated there as well. Although I've just got to say, gents, where's Kyle Walker? Where is Kyle Walker in this nomination? The season he had last year, Paul, how's he not made it?
It was unbelievable, especially, you look at the games against Bayern Munich and Real Madrid in the Champions League. The players he was up against, it was sensational. So I don't know. They don't know what they're talking about.
Oh, except they do know when all the rest of them, but not when it comes to Walker. Are you a gamer? Do you ever play?
My son plays, and I've occasionally played no rules FIFA against them, where you can just kick each other, so it's great. Yeah.
Was that
takes all the skill and all the nice bit of football out of it.
I love
it's
that.
just old skill, just kicking each other.
I used to do that for a living, never mind in a FIFA game.
Paul played no rules Premier League football, yes.
For 20 years, yeah.
Brilliant, thank you so much there. Best of luck to all the City players, of course. I hope they get into the teams of the year. Now, actually, considering how much we love him, on Matchday Live, we don't often focus in on our manager, Pep Guardiola. Of course, we absolutely love him. 8 years that he's been here now. And he looks as hungry as he ever did. So, gents, I would love to try and pick your brains a little bit. How do you think our manager stays as motivated, as focused, as competitive as always, despite the fact that he's won everything?
It's really difficult to know how, because we've seen other managers go through it and have dips and have burnout and different things like that, and he's just kept going. But he's sort of revolutionised football, whereas every coach is now following him, so he can't just stand still, or else they'll all be doing the same thing as him. He has to keep updating what he's doing, keep tweaking with little things, and we've seen maybe 4 or 5 systems that he's produced at City which haven't been seen before in football for probably back in Johan Cruyff's day, maybe was something similar. But to have the energy to keep going, to have the motivation, not just for himself, but motivate a group of elite footballers who are potentially the 25 of the best footballers in world football, to keep them happy all the time, to rotate his squad, to motivate them for another long trip into Europe, another long trip in the league, and he's just being fantastic, and he's done it seemingly with ease. He always seems like he's pleasant, he seems happy, he's really enjoying the job that he's doing and the club that he's at, and yeah, I mean, long may it continue. However he's doing it, hopefully it'll last longer.
Long may it continue, yeah.
He just wants to keep himself a step ahead of everybody else all the time, and Dunne's saying there about teams copying, he just keeps evolving, whether it be with the players. I mean, he's probably on his 4th different team now, if you think from when he first came in, and any manager that can cope with players like Vincent Kompany, Sergio Aguero, David Silva, Fernandinho, all leaving the football club and still seem to make the team better. And the systems, we've went from a false 9 to sort of going an old school big number 9 now.
Yeah.
The inverted fullbacks, last season nobody had ever seen that before. The last couple of seasons, now you see Liverpool copying it with Trent. Pep's went away from that now, and he's went back, and he's gone on and on again, like bringing in Doku, as you said before. We've not really seen that dribbling winger at City before, and he just keeps changing the team around and evolving it, and he wants to break all sorts of records. So this season he's probably more determined than anything else to win that 4th Premier League, that create another record, back-to-back Champions League. So it's the drive he's got, and like Dunne said, I think the most impressive thing is, we all know how good he is tactically and improving players and everything else, but how you keep 25 big egos, I mean that in the right way, superstars, happy. You never hear anything coming out bad about the players moaning about not playing or falling out with Pep or anything. You never hear that. How you can keep everybody happy and keep changing the team and having players like, I know Kevin's been out, but De Bruyne on the bench. Sergio Aguero going back a few years when Sergio was on the bench. He leaves players out all the time, but he still seems to get the best out of them. And I think that's That's why he's up there with the very, 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 very best.
If you were going to say indeed where he is with the very, very best of all time of managers, where are you going? Where do you think he's ranking? And of course, I think the difference is that he's still going. He's still managing.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why you can't put a final answer. And I think he's certainly in the top 2 or 3 in the history of world football. By the time he's finished, I think he will be right at the very, very top of that. I think one of the things that gets thrown at him a lot is he's always got good players, he's always spent big money, but I mean, all the clubs have spent big money, all the clubs have bought what they thought was good players. He's made all the transfers work, he's fitted players into his system, he's educated the players, he's not just bought a £50 million player and went, well, you're £50 million, you should be good at football. He's helped them, he's improved them, even with, I mean, Jack Grealish is a £100 million player and he's 2 or 3 times better at footballer now than what he was when he signed. So I think his success is undoubted, his trophies and all that sort of stuff. The style of football is undoubted, and for me the biggest thing is how he manages players and players and people and all that sort of stuff is incredible, because I find it difficult to understand that they're always dead happy players, but somehow, like Dickie says, nobody's ever complaining and everyone seems to get the right amount of minutes, and to do that it takes someone really, really special, and I think that's where Pep is really at the top of everything.
Yeah, I think that thing that Dunne's hit the nail on the head, saying that because he always spends money. I mean, Sir Alex, who people will say is the best, he spent a lot of money, broke a lot of transfer records. Jose, people say Jose, his first spell at Chelsea as well, but they've all spent a hell of a lot of money, and the biggest thing for me, and yet again, Dunne's got it there, is every single player that he's either inherited when he first came in or he's bought, he's improved. You know, we never thought Vincent would get any better than what he was. Yeah. David, Kevin even, 4 or 5 years ago, but he somehow brings all these, Sergio, brings them to another level again. They're already at a world-class level, but somehow he improves them to go to that next step, and that's a special, special talent to have.
And it gives me even more reason to be excited about Jeremy Doku, because when Pep spent more and more time with him, you can imagine how much better he's going to become as well. So yes, just a little shout out just to share our love for our manager Pep Guardiola. Now we're going to go back over to St James's Park a little bit earlier on, and you'll know it was because there's nobody, the crowd has not packed out yet. FG managed to get a hold of the one and only Ali McCoist, and of course Matchday Live royalty Joleon Lescott.
Yes, thank you, Natalie. Welcome back to Pitchside at St James's Park. As you can see, we have bought Manchester City legend Joleon Lescott, full-time DJ, full-time pundit here Pitchside.
Part-time pundit.
And our lucky charm for Matchday Live, Ali McCoist. Ali, first things first.
He's made it. He's made it.
How are we expecting the game to go today?
I think, again, it'll be really open. I saw Newcastle last week. I thought they were excellent last week against Sunderland. Was at that game. Guimarães and Almiron were superb. I think the game will be really open. I think it'll be a great game to watch. And I fancy City by a goal.
And same question to you, Joleon. How do you see this game going tonight at St James's Park?
Yeah, I think it'll be entertaining, exciting. The atmosphere is always exciting here. I think it's a game. Worrying for Man City, I think this is a game Newcastle need and a team they need to perform against. I think that'll galvanise the fans from the start. But like Ali said, I do see City coming out on top, hopefully by 1 goal.
Now, with it being a 5:30 kick-off, a lot of you know, I'll come to you, Joleon, first. As an ex-player who's played at this ground many times, night games under the lights, St James's Park, is it a difference?
Yeah, definitely. Night games are always different. There's always a heightened atmosphere, different sound, but for me personally, I preferred the morning games. I just wanted the excitement of the game would just get me up early, so I wanted to get up. But in regards to this fixture, it's different now. Listen, everyone's well prepared coming into this game and well rested, so I'm sure they're confident, the boys are.
If I could just say, I think this place is probably as good as it gets in terms of atmosphere.
Yeah.
Particularly on a night. I've been lucky being at a few the Champions League games and they've been exceptional. But the fans here, certainly get behind their team. And City one of, if not the best side in the country at the moment. I think the atmosphere will be wonderful. Yeah.
Now, the league game last year here was a day game, but there was goals, and there was a comeback from Man City. Obviously, Erling Haaland won't be in the squad today, missing a player like him, but there's a chance we may be seeing Kevin De Bruyne at some point. That's a massive, massive boost, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. he won't believe it, but I was doing a wee bit of homework coming down in the car there, and I think his assist the other week that's him with 30 assists or something, and whatever it is, it's a record, and he's only played about 4 or 5 games this season. Amazing, absolutely amazing. I want to see him start. I don't think we're talking about. We're not sure whether he'll start or not, but we've got to see him at some point. He's just one of the best players around at the moment. He's fantastic to watch.
Now, Jolien, how much homework have you done for today's game?
More than Ellie. And I was on time.
That's for sure.
I'm staying completely impartial in this, but we have got Richard Dunne in the Matchday Live studio. Have you got a word for Richard Dunne in the studio?
Nah, Ledge, Dunne, and Paul as well. Played against them both and worked with Dunne on our coaching badges, so Happy New Year to them both. And Natalie, let's not forget that.
Well, we're not going to forget that. By the way, what a partnership you and Dunne would be. We would love to see that.
Probably not now.
I'll tell you something right now. It'd be a great partnership, him and Dunne. I'm not sure they handle me and wee Dickov. I'll tell you that we might have too much of them.
Maybe we can arrange a 2v2. Then we've got a 2v2 happening. Now then, we're not going to forget about Natalie, of course, our host. I'm going to expose you here, Natalie. Text me and said, I love Ali so much. Can you get a message from Ali for me? And we're just going to do it on Matchday Live to expose you. So
yeah, absolutely, Natalie. I'm sorry you're not down here pitch side, but hopefully one of these days we'll catch up very, very soon and enjoy the game.
Well, there you go, Natalie. Let's head back to you in the studio. Thank you for joining us, DJ Say Less, and Ali as well.
I'm so annoyed at FG. I did indeed text him saying, can you get me a message from Ali, but can you make it sound like you were asking him for me so I didn't look like a freaky fan? But I love Ali, so I'm still absolutely thrilled to have had a message from Ali McCoist. Thanks, FG. But can we just talk about the idea of Paul Dickov and Ali McCoist versus Jolien Lescott and Richard Dunne? What do you think, Dunne? Are you smashing them?
Is it on a pitch or is it elsewhere? That'd be a different story. No, but just going back to Ali McCoist there, he's, like you say, I think everyone's a fan of him. He's brilliant, isn't he? He's such a positive person, and the way he speaks about football is amazing, and he's a great co-commentary.
Yeah, apart from the Matchday Live crew, obviously, he's the best out there. Yeah. We should get him in the studio. We should get Ali on a Matchday Live show. He's a gentleman, one of the funniest guys you'll ever meet in your life.
Yeah.
Super intelligent knowledge of football and just an all-round top man. Yeah.
I love
that.
that.
Just heard Darryl saying I'm his agent.
You need to link that up for us, Paul. Indeed,
I'll sort it out. I'll sort it out with Super Ali.
Who wins? You and?
Oh, me, Ali, all day long.
Yeah. Just wind them up. Thank you to Ali and of course to Jolien Lescott as well for chatting to us there at St James's Park. So we are less than 10 minutes, about 8 minutes indeed, from today's kick-off 5:30. As always, get your full match commentary of City versus Newcastle on the Manchester City app for free with Alistair Mann and with Michael Brown, the only place to get your commentary for this game today. Despite the fact that we love Ali McCoist, this is the only place to get your commentary with the other Ali that we love, Ali Mann. So, gents, before kick-off, we're a couple of minutes away now. Give us your kind of final thoughts before I get your predictions, Dunne. What sort of game are you expecting?
I think it'll be a quick game. I think Newcastle have to start quick. I think after the result against Sunderland in the Cup last week, the fans will want to be seeing that again, want to see more of that high-intensity play. And they're in a bit of a difficult situation in terms of the squad, but we were just chatting, and their first 11 is still really strong. So they're going to be a real threat today. But you would imagine over the course of the game, the way that City are starting to roll now a little bit with the football that they're playing, you would fancy that City will be able to win it over the 90 minutes.
Score predictions then, gents?
2-0.
I'll go 3-1.
3-1. 3-1. You made that sound so easy as well. Could we just say as well, does anyone else think Ruben Diaz is looking like more and more Mancunian every day? Like
he's sounding it as well.
Yes! Yeah. I think Manchester is suiting him. Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much for being here in the studio. It's lovely to have you, Paul. Thank you as always. And thank you all for joining us on today's Matchday Live. Of course, we're back at half-time and we're back at full-time. Right, get onto the app if you're not already there for full match commentary with Alistair Mann and Michael Brown.
Thank you, Natalie. A very warm welcome to St James's Park. And with the early league leaders, Liverpool, not in action this weekend, City do have the opportunity to really ramp up the pressure on Jurgen Klopp's men